One of those stories that has snuck up on us a little bit is the 3-1 start from Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Strange offseason. They have this core of talent that they didn't decide to move on from. I thought a really telling signing that they did was they brought back Jamel Dean rather than letting him hit free agency. So you have this core of players where it's like, there's a lot of talent on this team. And then they decide that Baker Mayfield, even though they hand waved a Baker Mayfield, Kyle Trask quarterback competition, was the right way to address quarterback in the Tom Brady world. And I just didn't really know what to make of them and that plan. Well, through 4 games, they're 3-1, and Baker Mayfield is actually playing some pretty darn solid football. He is 6th in the league right now in EPA per dropback through 4 games, right behind Patrick Mahomes.
6th? No.
6th.
Come on.
Some of that is, there are reasons behind that. He's been insane on third down. So he's been the best quarterback in the league on third down. He's 31 of 39 with 21 passing first downs on third down. So there are ways you get to that 6th overall number. But the most important takeaway here is that Baker has been solid, and the Bucs, I think, have been much better, much more impressive on offense than a lot of people might have expected coming into the season.
When you picked Baker to come in after Tom Brady, it was like everyone thought it was a head scratcher, right? Like, you got him on a cheap contract. You got him on a $4 million contract, backup money. This is his 4th team. But if you go back and actually look, and I did, if you go back and look at his last 3 or 4 games with the Rams last year and his first 4 games this year, he's put together about a 7-8 game stretch. That's really impressive. And that's what I noticed a little bit in New Orleans on Sunday. And I'm going to be like completely honest with you. I got a little bored watching the offense. And then all of a sudden at the end of the game, they put up 24.
Yeah.
And against a really, really good like New Orleans team. And so I was just like, well, he's not doing, there were some impressive plays that we can talk about, but he's not doing the flashy stuff, right? There's a couple scrambles and stuff, but 2 of the 3 touchdowns were on run plays. He just threw a fade, right? But he's making the plays. And the biggest thing for me is he's not losing the game. People like coaches say that all the time. Like, if you can have a guy, and I saw the interview with the Bucs GM today that Peter Schrager put out, which I thought was really cool. And just saying how Baker's just a dude, man. He is the guy. He's taking the old lineman to the Bahamas. He's doing this and that. I'm like, okay, like, he's fitting in well. Like, I don't know why he got sort of a bad rap. But it ultimately comes down to like your play on the field. And on Sunday, I don't know. It was a mixed bag for me. I was excited to watch because I wanted to see what everyone was talking about. And I think it has a lot to do with scheme. I think it has a lot to do with him not making stupid mistakes. When it's not there, he's throwing it away. He's running around in the pocket. He's scrambling. He looks a little quicker than years past. But yeah, to have the Bucs 3-1, consider me surprised, because I had no clue that was going to happen.
One of the most important things, if you're looking at his production this year, is the lack of negative plays. Baker's somebody that took a lot of sacks at periods during his career. He threw the ball away a little bit too often. He's thrown 2 interceptions this year. He has the 2nd lowest sack rate in the entire NFL this season. The only player who's gotten sacked less often than Baker Mayfield is Patrick Mahomes. So them avoiding those negative plays has been hugely important. And I want to talk about the offense, because I feel like they've done such a good job of creating this support system around him schematically that's really asked him to do what he's good at and kind of mitigated some of those things that maybe he's a little bit worse at. And this is Dave Canales, who we've never seen as an offensive coordinator before, and that adds another layer of intrigue to this. It's like, all right, let's open this up and see what we're looking at, because this is his first stint as a play caller after coming over as the Seahawks quarterbacks coach. So when you're looking at the offense and the way that it's designed for Baker right now, how do you think they're putting him in the right spots to succeed?
Well, I watched every snap of the New Orleans game, and what I came away with was, yes, I was bored watching them, but then I go back and I think about, after I watched the 65 plays, I'm like, well, that's actually not a bad thing. Like, you don't have to be Patrick Mahomes. You don't have to be somebody that's making all these flashy plays. So then I have to like like everyone, like I'm becoming a viewer now. Everyone wants to see this flashiness, these crazy throws and stuff. He's just running the offense, man. And honestly, it's paid off. And that's something I noticed. I had no idea they were that good on third down, but I picked it up in the game. He's making these throws on third down. They're not asking him to throw a bunch, just pure drop back on first and second down.
Not at
It's
all.
more heavy play action. And I think that's honestly, like, with the run game going, that's something that protects a quarterback, because you can have these heavy play action, two tight end, drop them up shots. And if it's not there, he's just checking it down. He's just moving the chains. And that's the biggest thing I think Canales has done with Baker. He's put him in a position to succeed by not asking him to do so much on first and second down. They've been decent in the red zone. They've been really good on third down. The money downs is what we like to call them. Those two downs, he's been really good. And even the 2-minute drive before the half, he went down and got points. Like, it was impressive to me. And I think that's the biggest thing, is once you get into a new offense, a first-time coordinator as a quarterback, you want to understand, especially if I'm Baker, like, I want to see how Dave Canales calls plays. Okay. And you have a 4-game thing. Hey, okay, he's calling these plays on what I see and what I like and what I'm comfortable with. And that's the biggest way to protect the quarterback, and say, hey, you don't have to go win the game every single snap. Like, make the throws when they're there. They got a really good receiving core, and you don't have to do too much. Take care of the football. Don't take sacks. It's day one football, but Baker's doing it at a high level.
The formula that they have on early downs, I think, makes so much sense for him. When you think about where he was successful and how he was successful for stretches in Cleveland, it was putting him in structure and making things easy on him. So the Bucs right now, the only team in the NFL that has used play action at a higher percent of their early down dropbacks than Tampa Bay is Seattle, where Dave Canales comes from.
Wow.
And I don't think that's an accident. So it's been 44% of their early down dropbacks they're using play action, which is a huge number.
That's huge. Yeah.
Huge.
Wow.
And so that is combined with them using multiple tight ends, 2 or 3, 12 or 13 personnel on 44% of their early down plays. So what they're doing is it's just heavy personnel, heavy play action. You're getting teams in base defense, probably using cover 3 because you're playing under center, and he's just ripping play action shots outside the numbers. So that is a perfect way, in my opinion, to use him in that situation and just say, listen, this is all we need from you. Don't take sacks, take the throws that are there, and then maybe you get into creation mode a little bit on third down. I don't know how long that lasts. It feels like there's a little bit of fairy dust sprinkled on what they're doing on third down right now, but the early down strategy and the early down formula, I think, makes a lot of sense when Baker Mayfield is your quarterback and you have some of the offensive supporting cast they have, which we can talk about.
Well, and it helps him build his confidence, right? Like, that's the biggest thing in a new offense. When I've been a part of, whether it was Chicago or New Orleans or even Detroit in a brand new offense, like, I just want to be able to know and to play and to get a few games underneath my belt, whether it be preseason or regular season, and just feel how this offense feels in a game, because it feels way different in a game when you're going full speed, full reps, everything like that, than practice. Like, there's no substitute for game speed. And so he's gotten these 4 games, and he's got to be like, okay, look, I'm playing well. I need to continue doing things well. And I think, you said he wasn't really taking sacks. The biggest thing to me was, like, he's moving in the pocket, and he's getting outside of the pocket, and he's running, and he's sliding, and he's moving. I mean, he made a throw in the game outside of the pocket. I'm like, okay, that's like what Baker does. Like, get him out, get him rolling. He's not just some like pocket passer. He wants to get going. Now, he's good in play action. I always felt good with play action when it's working, because, like you said, you get base on the field and you're able to take these shots down the field. And if it's not there, hey, check it down, move it on. And that's the biggest thing. And the closest offense to this for me was the New Orleans offense. We were under center, play action, first, second down, very little drop back. And on third down, we came up with some cool stuff. Like, it was really, really cool stuff, and it attacked defenses, and we game planned well. And it looks like that's sort of the formula right here so far for Dave Canales and the Bucs.
I'm curious, how does play action affect a quarterback's rhythm and timing? Because it almost feels like it makes you play on time. You have the fake, you have the footwork, you hit the top of your drop, your head comes around, you know exactly where you're supposed to go. It feels like structure that can really lend to a quarterback who can get jittery when you're not necessarily putting him in those confines. Is that fair?
Well, so the biggest thing with play action for me is, like, when you're a quarterback and you're under center, as an offensive coordinator, what you like to have is like a half field read. Very, very, very few times are play actions reads, full field reads. It's either, hey, pick and stick to a side down to your back, or you might have post over. So you're still reading the left side of the field if the over's coming right to left. Versus drop back, a lot of times if you're in shotgun, hey, you need to read the defense, obviously, and maybe pick a side. Okay. And if for some reason they're disguising and you pick the wrong side, you're screwed. Get down to your back. So I think it just keeps you in rhythm. That's what I always like. Like, let us get our run game, our play action, our screen game, our draw game going on first and second down. And then in third down, we're going to get in gun. And it's not like they're just run, pass on third down. It's like a pass run. They're mixing it up really well. So I think that's honestly keeping defenses like, hey, all right. Also, like the second level defenders, when you're play action and you have the threat of running the football. Okay, say you play action pass and those linebackers at the second level are running up. Okay, well now they have to turn their backs to you as the quarterback and run back to their drop zones. Okay, so I feel a lot more comfortable seeing the back of, say, Fred Warner's head rather than him staring me down and getting a good feel on stuff, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does. And I think the understood way of using play action to affect linebackers, we've saw this for years and years and years. And kind of the old Niners way of playing. The Niners don't use that much play action anymore, actually, which is actually kind of funny. The way the Shanahan offense always kind of worked in older versions of it is play action fake, linebacker step up, you can hit throws over the middle of the field. You're sitting the second level. But the Bucs are doing it outside the numbers. And Nate and I talked about this a little bit on Sunday. I'm curious, when you're trying to do that, when you're hitting that deep out to Mike Evans off play action, you're not trying to exploit an area the linebackers are avoiding in the middle of the field. So how is play action giving you space in a design like that?
Well, I just think it gives you time versus if you're a 7-step drop back team and you're doing this off 7-step drop back, it's ultimately going to be quicker because there's no play fake, there's no hitch, there's none of that. So it just gives you a little bit more time to read and react. And honestly, he knows both of those out throws. Like, first of all, you better have an arm to throw it, and you better throw it early. I thought he missed the second one a little bit, and Mike Evans just made a good grab on it. But I think it's just like, hey, that's something like, hey, I'm going to go back 7-step drop. And I'm going to hitch up, play fake, and just let it roll. And it's Mike Evans or no one. Like, it's like clear as day. It's a one-person read. And if it's there open, cool. If not, do there. So it simplifies the reads, but it also lets you get on timing and in rhythm. I don't think it really affects the corners. I think it's more so you're doing this play action to get a shot down the field, whether it's stacks or you're motioning out to these big out routes. I think it's more of just a rhythm thing for the quarterback.
And it makes total sense. And you can see how in rhythm he's playing. The last thing I think is worth mentioning, talking about the sack rate, I also think a lot of the heavy personnel that they've used, it's helped in protection. Even if you're not keeping all those guys in max protection looks, the amount of chips and guys coming across the formation to seal off the backside, they've just kept 1 or 2 extra bodies in, even if it's only for a beat. And I think that's really helped him as well because he's just dealing with less traffic in his face.
Yeah, I mean, I think he definitely understands, and the way it seems to me is like, yeah, those are great and all to have extra blockers and stuff. And it was you could actually see it like getting really frustrating for Cam Jordan. Like he was pissed off. He's like, man, all these nakeds and bootlegs, and you're chipping me. Then that's exactly what you want as an offensive coordinator is you want to piss off the D lineman. Like, oh, we can't even get home. Whether it's quick game, play action shots. And that's the funny thing about it is like it's working. Is it going to continue to work? I don't know. But I think they have a good recipe for success until Baker feels very, very comfortable, which he already looks, but until he continues to grasp the offense even more moving forward.
I also think that their offensive line has played better than I expected. Wirfs has been unbelievable at left tackle. Like the level of comfort he's playing with already is remarkable. And Luka Decky's been pretty good at right tackle in his second year. And he had an uneven rookie year. So having decent play from your tackles and, it's been uneven a little bit up front and the interior sometimes this year. Cody Mock is a rookie. Matt Fowler coming over from the Chargers. But overall, I think that their protection plan with this remade offensive line combined with the individual play of some guys has given them a better chance to succeed than I anticipated coming into the year.
Well, and let's make no mistake about it. Like the offensive line loves play action. They love run game. They love play action. They love screen game. They're not just dropping back, setting against, Cam Jordan, letting him have his best pass rush moves. Of course, you got to do that on third down. So it's also getting them into a rhythm and saying, okay, cool. Like our OC is protecting us as much as Baker.
Absolutely. And I think all in all, with the play and the strategy in terms of how they're helping the offensive line, that's been a big part of this. The last thing I wanted to touch on, nothing schematic, but just kind of cultural, like what this means, the stakes here for Baker. Like you mentioned, 1 year, $4 million to go play quarterback for the Bucs. We got backups in the league that are making more than $4 million now. I mean, this is a true kind of prove it. This is your last chance sort of contract. I'm wondering, when you're in a locker room, can you feel that for guys where there's a level of urgency when you kind of know that this is their chance to really extend their career, turn their career around? Have you been around guys where that was something you could sense with them?
Oh, dude. I mean, it's widely talked about in locker rooms. Like if someone's balling out and we say, "Oh, you're on a contract year," no wonder you're balling out. You're going to free agency. Now it's different with quarterbacks, but every other position, like we had Chinanowosu in LA, and he was on a contract year, and he had played okay, like not bad, not amazing. Khalil Mack 6 sacks in a game, but he was like a really good player of ours. And it had just been known through the year that, hey, we probably weren't going to sign him back because they had other plans and whatever. And he just started balling. Like he got like 6 sacks in his last like 7 games, and all of us after like the first 2 or 3 sacks, we were like, "Oh, bro, you're on a contract here, man. You're on the contract." And he goes and gets paid by Seattle, and then signs another deal with Seattle. Like it's just like, so those are definitely well known. I mean, not so much quarterback, because quarterbacks are different animal in terms of like, they don't want anyone to say anything to them. It's like almost like that superstition where the pitcher's sitting by himself, batting a no hit or throwing a no hitter on the end of the bench, and no one's really talking to him because he's got a lot of stuff on his mind. It's sort of like that for quarterbacks, but definitely other positions. I mean, it is well known in locker rooms like, "Hey, man, you're on a contract here."